Philadelphia Eagles fans, I don't know about you, but it feels like the rest of the league is finally waking up to the elite talent we have on this roster. ESPN just dropped their annual list of the top players at every position for the upcoming season, and the Eagles landed 8 players in the top 10 across the board. It is a massive validation that our front office is building something special, even if some of these rankings are honestly disrespectful. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your name and city in the comments below. Let's get into it. The Philadelphia Eagles remain a force to be reckoned with according to the latest league-wide consensus. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler just wrapped up his 7th annual top 10 position rankings, polling coaches, scouts, and executives to gauge the talent level across the NFL for the 2026 season. We finished with 8 players making these lists, trailing only the Detroit Lions, who secured 9. This snapshot of talent highlights how our roster is viewed from the outside, featuring stars like Saquon Barkley at running back and the impressive duo of Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson at tackle. The truth is, seeing our guys represented across the board confirms what we already suspected about the core strength of this team under Nick Sirianni. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis were recognized on the interior defensive line, while Zach Bond earned a high ranking at linebacker. Still, the news has sparked a heated debate regarding Jalen Hurts, who landed at number 17 overall and only in the honorable mention category for quarterbacks. This placement has ruffled feathers among us, as it feels like an oversight for a signal caller who carries such a massive burden for this franchise. While the experts praise our offensive trenches and secondary, the lack of recognition at safety and the questions surrounding our quarterback leave a lingering sense of uncertainty. We know this team is built to compete for championships, but when the league evaluators start pinning such low rankings on our leader, it forces us to look closer at the expectations versus the actual output on the field. Does this ranking reflect a legitimate decline in his performance? Or is the league simply failing to account for the specific system he is running? We need to dig deeper into the actual metrics to see if there is more smoke than fire here. The most startling revelation from the latest ESPN polling by Jeremy Fowler is that our quarterback Jalen Hurts sits at number 17 overall, falling into the honorable mention category. This outcome feels quite jarring considering how we have viewed his trajectory, but it reflects the volatility of the position after a season where his performance faced significant scrutiny. Let's be real, the front office under Jeffrey Lurie and Nick Sirianni likely views this ranking as a challenge rather than a condemnation of their franchise leader. They are banking on his historical ability to bounce back, much like how they handled previous roster transitions that many outsiders doubted at the time. When we look at the internal offensive line, the coaching staff remains quietly confident that Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens will return to their established forms following those difficult injury-plagued stretches. It is a calculated gamble on health and consistency as the team clearly prioritizes keeping the core together. The front office knows that stability is the bedrock of a deep playoff run, and they have seen this specific film before when previous veteran groups had to overcome similar public skepticism before proving everyone wrong. While the wide receiver room features Devonta Smith moving into that new primary role, the decision-makers clearly believe the chemistry built over several campaigns will outweigh the outside noise. Behind closed doors, the coaching staff is likely emphasizing that these subjective lists act as a snapshot rather than a final verdict on our 2026 potential. They trust their internal evaluation processes more than the consensus of league scouts and executives, preferring to let the results on the field dictate the narrative. We know this team possesses the depth to prove these assessments wrong, provided the guys can stay healthy and execute the vision that Nick Sirianni has mapped out for this upcoming season. Validation from across the league carries heavy weight this time of year because it confirms that our window for a championship remains wide open. When Jeremy Fowler polls coaches and scouts, we are seeing a snapshot of how the rest of the NFL views our foundation. And having 8 players inside those top 10 lists tells us that our roster depth is the envy of most organizations. And this is the part that gets me, because while individual accolades are nice, they reveal the specific strengths that will define our weekly game plans this fall. Our offensive tackles, Jordan Mailata at number 4 and Lane Johnson at number 7. provide the stability we need to keep our passing game vertical and efficient. With Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis anchoring the interior of the defensive line, we have the raw power to dictate the trenches against any opponent we face. This recognition puts our division rivals on notice, as we now hold the edge in positional talent across the board. While the quarterback situation remains a point of intense conversation, our depth at linebacker with Zach Bond and the emergence of the secondary with Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean suggests a defense capable of limiting high-powered offenses. We're looking at a unit that is built to win in January, not just compete in September. These rankings show that Jeffrey Lurie and our front office have successfully assembled a group that commands respect throughout the league. As we prepare for our opening schedule, the pressure is on Nick Sirianni to turn this collection of recognized talent into a cohesive force that can secure home field advantage in the playoffs. Our standing within the NFC has never been stronger, and with this much talent earning individual praise, the expectation for a deep postseason run is the only standard that matters for this franchise. The league-wide perception of our Philadelphia Eagles remains incredibly strong, as evidenced by 8 of our players landing on the latest top 10 position rankings by ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. The upside of having so many recognized stars like Saquon Barkley, Jalen Carter, and Zach Bond is that our championship window is clearly wide open with proven talent across the roster. However, the risk lies in relying on these reputations when some positions, like quarterback, left observers underwhelmed this year. This is where it gets real, because while Jalen Hurts finishing at number 17 seems harsh to those of us watching every Sunday, it highlights the high standards set for our signal caller. The fact that league executives ranked players like Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of Barkley shows that the rest of the NFL is still waiting for our guys to prove their 2025 production was merely a fluke. We see massive potential in our secondary with Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, yet the total absence of our safeties from these lists suggests we have a glaring vulnerability that opponents will surely test. While others praise our offensive tackles like Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, I am personally skeptical that our interior offensive line can hold up after those injury-plagued seasons. To be honest, I think some of these rankings are just noise meant to generate clicks during the slow summer months, but they serve as a reminder that the national media expects perfection from Philadelphia. It is a bit ironic that a former Eagle like Milton Williams is getting more love in the polls than our own Jordan Davis. We have the foundation for a deep playoff run under the guidance of Jeffrey Lurie and Nick Sirianni, but success depends on these players outperforming these arbitrary lists once the real games start. Looking at these recent ESPN rankings by Jeremy Fowler, it is clear the Philadelphia Eagles remain a cornerstone of the league with 8 players recognized among the top 10 at their positions. This signifies a massive commitment from Jeffrey Lurie and Nick Sirianni to maintain a championship-caliber roster that prioritizes talent across the trenches and key skill spots. And here's why that's a big deal. Having 15 different players receive support from league executives proves that our depth is respected far beyond the city limits of Philadelphia. As fans, we should feel genuinely optimistic because this snapshot suggests that the foundation for another run is incredibly solid, despite minor lingering injuries and tough competition from teams like the Detroit Lions. The presence of stars like Saquon Barkley and Jalen Carter in these polls demonstrates that elite talent still calls our facility home, ensuring our window for success remains wide open for several years. While the concerns at safety and the uncertainty surrounding the quarterback ranking provide room for improvement, the sheer volume of representation suggests we are positioned better than nearly every other franchise. With so much foundational strength established on both sides of the ball, we are effectively setting the stage for a dominant, consistent brand of football that veteran supporters appreciate. Looking at these rankings, do you believe Jalen Carter will have a better individual 2026 season than Saquon Barkley, or will the running game lead the way? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Fly, Eagles, fly. I'll see you in the next one. Meanwhile, make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss a deep dive into your favorite team's journey toward a Super Bowl trophy. We appreciate all your incredible support throughout this long football season.